La ritobe simposio hodio estas la naŭa, kaj ĝia temo estas la lingvaj rajtoj en la jaro de la 70 jariĝo de la deklaracio, de la Universala Deklaracio por homaj rajtoj. Kaj laŭ ni estis tia la ideo iel homaĝi la deklaracio de homaj rajtoj, la datreveno fakte, la datrevenon de la deklaracio de homaj rajtoj per simposio kiu traktos la lingva flankon de la homaj rajtoj, do la lingvaj homaj rajtoj. Estis trilingva evento en l'Esperanto, en la itala, en la angla, kun nekredebla altkvalita prelegoj de kolegoj de pluraj landoj.
Si oppone quindi a una nazione.
La domanda che ci siamo posti questa mattina riguarda i diritti linguistici delle lingue e dei parlanti delle lingue di origine straniera che sempre di più sono presenti in Italia, rappresentano l'8,5% della popolazione italiana e il 10% dei bambini che vanno a scuola sono di origine straniera.
That way. These are not rights connected to language. We don't protect languages per se in terms of human rights. We protect humans. So you have to focus on the individuals, the humans, and the communities that are involved. And then it becomes possible and practical to impose language obligations on states using that approach, which is essentially a non-discriminatory approach. So my presentation, my contribution in the Nitobe Symposium was about that, explaining that language rights are important human rights and that they have to be respected in all areas of public policies, and a state cannot simply force individuals to completely forget their language or to abandon their language. There are areas where the state must respect the linguistic diversity of its population.
Indigenous territorial language speakers constantly discriminated against. I think we've seen the big rise in hate speech, and it's virulent on social media. This state impunity is violation of treaties and Council of Europe treaties.
As a network, we're the biggest network in Europe of civil society organisations working for these language rights, and it's been great talking to a really interesting audience on something that's crucial as we move forward to try to get language rights for regional minority languages across Europe, something that's not happening, something that the EU's just been regressing on for the last 20 years.
To defining both linguicism, which was coined by my wife in parallel with racism and sexism and classism. What I've presented at the wonderful Nitobe conference here, and I've been to several earlier Nitobe conferences, is the first ever in the world handbook of linguistic human rights. And it has 52 chapters, it has people from all over the world, 62 contributors, who are all writing about different situations where language rights may be violated or may be respected and granted. A lot of chunk of theory and hopefully a message of hope that where there is good experience of linguistic human rights being implemented, this means that minority rights are being respected, their languages are being respected, and this is, of course, is what the whole focus of the conference is on, in fact.
Pagi por doni rajton alla malpli multo, ni pagos malpli en granda lando o en malgranda lando.
Oni parolas pri lingva malegaleco, pri lingva problemo, diskriminacio kotopo. Ni volas mesuri tion, o taksi tion, havis faktojn, kiu ni povas presenti, ne nur oni diroj. Uno de la ĉefaj punktoj estis ke oni devas konsideri la ekonomion ankaŭ. Se oni konstruas ponton, ĉio komprenas ke la ponto kostas iom. Oni devas fari decidon, oni devas fari prioritatojn.
The only way the European Union can defend minorities or linguistic minorities, whatever you call them, is through funding projects. No matter what people say or what people believe, at the end of the day, language policy, like education policy, research, is an exclusive competence of the member states.
Tiu diskutoj inter politikistoj kaj lingvistoj kaj la publikado de pli kaj pli de libroj, mi devas nur diri ke profesorino Alice Leal el Brazilo kun mi prezentis libron hodiaŭ pri lingvo politiko kaj la estonto de Eŭropa Unio. Ĝi ĵus publikiĝis antaŭ per Routledge antaŭ kelkaj semajnoj.
Back in those days, there was an increasing realization that language and language policy were a whole lot more complicated than they had appeared to be. And said CEP came into being as much as anything in order to provide the Esperanto movement with a clearer understanding of what constitutes language and what constitutes language policy.
Questo simposio che si prospetta davvero interessantissimo e che non solo vuole celebrare il 75esimo anniversario della Dichiarazione Universale dei Diritti Umani, ma va ben oltre, nel senso che vuole anche e soprattutto riflettere su un aspetto.
Ni tobe simpozioj havas fakte sufiĉe longan historion jam. Ŝajnas al mi preskaŭ 30 jaroj. Kaj ĉefe en la simpozioj ni klopodas trakti la ĝeneralan demandon de lingvopolitiko. Kaj ni interesiĝas, ĉu ne, ni esperantistoj almenaŭ, pri la demando kiel Esperanto kvazaŭ enkadriĝas en la tuta fako de lingvopolitiko kaj lingvaj problemoj.
Tobo, kiel vi scias, estas japana diplomato. Li faris antaŭ 100 jaroj. Li faris tre favoran raporton al la Ligo de Nacioj pri la uzo de Esperanto.
Well, I think a symposium like this one is, in my opinion, is very useful, and I'm glad that I'm here, largely because substantial tracts of contemporary research have abandoned what I would consider priorities for sound scientific research, also in the field of language and society.
So, I mean, it's very stimulating to be here with lots of people who are committed to linguistic diversity and trying to arrange for context where this is fully respected.
I think conferences like these are very important to exchange ideas, to raise awareness about regional and minority languages, and also to come up with strategies, how we can defend them, how we can criticize the European Union, how we can make the member states change their opinion about regional minorities. They should see it as a resource, not as a burden.
I think the whole platform, the conference is an excellent platform to talk about this, and we've got experts from all around the world, so it's been really good.
It actually allows us to understand that there are language rights and that these language rights are part of human rights. It's not always understood or accepted or implemented by governments, by many governments around the world. So it's important to clarify these areas, that language rights are human rights, so that governments understand that they have obligations in this area. So it is important to raise awareness, quite frankly.
Danke al CED, danke all'Asocio Nitobe por Lingvo Demokratio kaj Justeco kaj danke kompreneble alla subteno de la Universitato de Torino. Ni sukcesis okazigi la eventon ĉi tie. Mi volas aldoni ke mi dankas ĉiujn organizantoj kaj kunlaborantoj de tio, inkluzive interpretistoj, kiuj faris bonegan laboron. Estas tre bone ke ekzistas altkvalitaj eventoj en kiu Esperanto estas laborlingvo. Kaj mi esperas revidi vin alla venonta Nitobe Simposio. Everyone, and I hope you are going to enjoy the rest of the day. Grazie, arrivederci a tutti.